All right, let's jump right into it. Today, we are talking about the super high stakes world of selling a real estate brokerage. The market is consolidating like crazy right now. And if you're an owner, that means huge decisions are coming at you faster than ever. We're going to break down exactly why trying to go it alone in this environment is probably the most expensive mistake you can make. And this quote right here, man, it just nails it. This isn't some gradual, sleepy trend we're talking about. This is pure velocity. Things are speeding up, big time, and it's forcing absolutely everyone to rethink their strategy, their timing, their entire game plan. So, to really get what we mean by velocity in the real world, just look at this. The massive Compass Anywhere deal went from being announced to totally done in just 4 months. 4 months. That's an entire industry-changing deal happening in less time than it takes for a season to change. That's the kind of speed that forces your hand and makes being unprepared incredibly costly. That kind of speed creates an insane amount of pressure. And it's right in that pressure cooker moment that we see it happen. Brokerage leaders make their single most expensive mistake. The phone rings, it's a buyer, and they jump headfirst into the process with absolutely no professional on their side of the table. And this, well, this is what we're calling the go it alone mistake. Just think of it like putting a for sale by owner sign on a $100 million company. It sounds crazy, right? But smart, successful entrepreneurs do it all the time. They think, hey, I built this thing from the ground up, so I must be the best person to sell it. But running a business and selling a business are two totally different universes. Okay, now this slide is where it gets really interesting because it shows this giant gap between two worlds. On the left, you've got the seller thinking, I know my numbers, this buyer is so nice, and wow, look at that price. But then look at the buyer's reality on the right. These guys are M&A pros. They do this all day, every day. They know that being friendly is just a tactic, and they know the real win isn't the price, it's in the terms. That's the fine print that decides if, when, and how you ever see that money. And this gets right to the heart of the psychological chess match. All that passion, all that emotional attachment that helped you build your company from scratch, that can actually become your biggest weakness in a negotiation. An experienced buyer can smell that a mile away. They can tell when you're tired, when you're distracted, trying to run your business and sell it at the same time. And trust me, they will absolutely use that against you. Which brings us to probably the single most critical and honestly most misunderstood part of any deal. The biggest danger for a seller who's on their own isn't getting a low price. No, the real sharks are swimming in the fine print. The danger is hidden in the deal structure, the timing, and all the risk that gets quietly tucked away in the terms. And just look at how complicated this gets. A buyer can offer you a number that makes your jaw drop and still completely dominate the deal by controlling these little details. How working capital is defined. That one line can swing the cash you walk away with by hundreds of thousands of dollars. What does that earnout really mean you have to do? These are the details that can shift every ounce of risk from their shoulders right onto yours. So here's the bottom line, right? A great price on paper means absolutely nothing if the fine print makes it impossible or just way too expensive to actually get that cash into your bank account. You have to focus on the complete deal, not just the shiny number at the top of the page. So if this whole thing is a complex battlefield, how do you even navigate it? Well, you don't go in alone. You get an expert guide, and this is the solution. Professional M&A representation. You got to think of them as your five-star general, the one who's going to map out the entire campaign to protect you and what you've built. And a great representative does so much more than just show up to argue about the price. They run a tight, disciplined process from start to finish. They start by figuring out what you really want. They control the pace of the deal so you never feel rushed. They create competition to give you power. And they lock down confidentiality, which is just critical. Bottom line, they make sure you stay in the driver's seat. And what this all boils down to is one single powerful word: leverage. See, when you're by yourself, all you see is the one buyer sitting across from you. But a professional representative, they bring the entire market into that room with you. They know what other deals looked like, they know other buyers, they know other paths you could take. That context creates options, and options, well, that's leverage. That's what protects your wallet and your legacy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hey, I've got a great lawyer. I've got an accountant. And you absolutely need them. They are vital, but they have very specific jobs. Your lawyer is laser focused on the legal contract. Your accountant is all about the numbers. The M&A rep, they're the strategic quarterback who ties it all together, making sure the legal stuff and the financial stuff are all working to get you the best possible outcome. So when you put all these pieces together, what does it actually look like to negotiate from a position of strength? It's really about one big shift, moving from being reactive, just picking up that unexpected phone call, to being proactive. It's about building a winning strategy that puts you in control from day one. This quote just sums it all up perfectly. Leaving a ton of money on the table isn't because you're not a brilliant business person. You are. It happens for one simple reason. You are alone in a specialized fight against a team that does this for a living, every single day. You were just outmatched. So it all really comes down to this one fundamental question, doesn't it? For every owner out there who's even thinking about an exit, after all the blood, sweat, and tears, how do you actually make sure that the final outcome truly reflects all that value you created? And the answer is preparation. The game is literally won before it even starts. The absolute best outcomes always go to the sellers who get their ducks in a row with an expert guide before that first phone call turns into a real negotiation. Because here's the secret. The moment you start talking terms with a buyer, the power immediately starts to shift away from you. So we'll leave you with this final thought. In a market moving at this speed, always remember, the deal you're first shown is almost never the deal you get. It becomes the deal you negotiate. And the most important question you can possibly ask yourself is, when that negotiation starts, who really is in your corner fighting for you?